frontier.
Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational!
Lambert! Oh, what a way to settle it!
Nakamura! It's Tom Rogic! Xavi Zera. This is Tony Watt. He's done it! This is the stuff of legend!
This is Celtic Daft.
Welcome back to the first Celtic Daft since that Rangers game. I am producer Ryan, and as always, I'm joined by the main man, Mr. Chris Toal. How's life, Chris?
Life is rosy, Ryan. It's rosy.
It's been a good week, innit? It's been a good week. Have you been up to much in the last week, mate? Just gloating a few days?
Do you know what? No, I tend not to get involved in that sort of banter anymore. Don't get me wrong. If anybody says anything, they get it back tenfold. But it's been sweet because it has been very quiet on the other side of the city, shall we say?
Just a bit, mate, just a bit. Right, before we crack on with the podcast, thank you to everyone, as always, who listens to Football Daft, Celtic Daft, and even Rangers Daft every single week. If you like any bonus content, early access to podcasts, video versions of all three, head to patreon.com/football daft, support us that way. Anybody who signs up also has a chance to be a pundit here on Celtic Daft or Rangers Daft as well. So get to patreon.com/football daft. Right, let's crack on with the show tonight then, shall we, Chris? It's the first podcast, like I say, since that victory over Eld Rangers last week. It was discussed briefly on the main pod kind of on Thursday there or Friday. But how impressed were you with us against Rangers in that game?
Mate, we were outstanding. We were absolutely outstanding. I've got no idea what Van Bronckhorst's on about after 25 minutes he took over.
Aye.
Because at no point did Celtic look in any danger whatsoever. At no point. And, you know, it was good to see Hatate really kind of announcing himself. I know that he obviously played really well against Hearts and scored that screamer against them, but this was like his coming out party. It was incredible, man. What a performance.
Aye, it was brilliant, man. I've kind of noted two guys in this performance that I want to highlight. One of them was Rio Hatate. The other one, mate, was Matt O'Reilly. You know, it was a bit of a random signing, Matt O'Reilly, you know, when we brought him in.
No, wait a minute. It wasn't a random signing.
No,
right?
no,
we never knew about him.
Aye,
right?
no, that's what I'm trying to say. You know, because we brought in these three boys for Japan, all the kind of signing and dancing was about them because of where Angie played or managed before. They got all the spotlight. O'Reilly kind of just came in and people were a wee bit like, all right, okay, boy for MK Dons, whatever. Japanese guys are here. That's who we care about. But this guy, mate, he was unbelievable.
What did I say to you? What did I say to you when he played against Hearts at Tynecastle? You said, how was O'Reilly? I says, mate, he's going to be a really important player for us. That's exactly what I said, wasn't it? And you know what? He's got this eye for a through ball that I haven't seen since Nakamura. And I know, obviously, he's only played a couple of games, but like Stephen Furden says, you can only comment on what you've seen. And the guy has not put a foot wrong with the exception of the cutback and the miss against Dundee United. That was the only thing. But he's been exceptional before he arrived. Exceptional.
Aye. Well, I mean, overall, in all the games that I've seen him, he has looked good, but particularly this game against Rangers, mate, you know, we went into this game, we had Callum McGregor coming back. You know, we thought, is he going to last this game because of the facial injury? Hatate, O'Reilly, you know, two boys who'd never played against Rangers before, never really understood kind of what it was about. You know, the majority of the team actually didn't really understand what that game was about. Do you think that kind of played into our favour a little bit, having these boys in the team who, I'm not going to say didn't know what to fear, because I don't think we would have feared them at all, but, you know, having that kind of previous experience of what these games are like and going in it with that little bit of kind of jeopardy, that little bit of fear, do you think that made a difference, you know, having these kind of new guys in for this?
Aye, it can work both ways. You know what I mean? It can work in your favour, or it can go in the complete opposite direction, and we've seen that in the past. You know what I mean? New guys coming in against Rangers and just not hitting the ground running at all. But I think that this could work in our favour for the rest of the season, because like I can't remember who it was that said it, but somebody says these players that have just arrived and are playing for Celtic just now are looking at Rangers and going like, I mean, they're mince.
That's who we're up against.
Aye, but again, that's something else that can work in both directions, because they could then become maybe lackadaisical against them. But I don't see that happening. I don't see Ange allowing that to happen.
No. We see we have that bit between our teeth now as well. You know, we've got that kind of early season. We looked a bit ropey, as we all know. I think that was the guys kind of getting used to each other. I think they're more than used to each other now. You know, we've seen it. We had the extended winter break. They've done a bit of training then. They've came back, all guns blazing. You know, ever since then, I don't think we've dropped any points, have we, since then? We've won every game since that break. Couple of kind of ropey games as well in between. But, you know, it's like we always say, champions grind games like them out. The ones that we did struggle, I'm talking United game, talking, you know, was it the Hearts one as well?
Yeah.
You know, when that got a bit shaky. But just lastly, mate, on Hatate, I want to talk about his 2 goals, particularly the second one. You know, explain, when you're watching that, mate, what are you thinking when you see this guy pick that ball up and he takes a shot? Because for me, I'm going, why are you shooting? Like, for there, work it again.
Is this the second goal or the first goal?
It's the second goal.
No, the second goal, I knew he was going to score. See the minute the ball fell at his feet, I fucking knew it. I knew he was going to score. Aye. And a lot of people are giving Alan McGregor a bit of hassle about it, but see if you see the view behind Hatate, he's bent it round that defender. McGregor doesn't see that until the very last second. You know what I mean? So that was an exquisite finish for him, a tremendous finish, and it's a finish that we've not had in a player since Stuart Armstrong left. He would have been the sort of player that would have tried that. So, you know, and what you also need to look at the fact, Ryan, we've come into that game, and I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 9 of the 11 players that started that game were Ange signings.
Aye, the only 2 that were
McGregor
and
Greg Taylor, aye. So, you know, you really need to give this guy credit, because the job that he's done in the small amount of time that he's had is unbelievable. Because if you look at that first game at Tynecastle at the start of the season, and you see how far we've came, it's night and day, man. And I'm just hoping that we get him signed onto a new contract before Pep leaves Man City.
Is that what he's been out? Did he go? Aye, just by you.
Is he no part of the City group? But
true, mate. True. Fair point. Right, so we're not dwelling on that anymore then, because like I say, you touched on that on the main podcast anyway. The other player that did score was Abada, but we'll get into him as well on the game for the weekend. So next game up, mate, move top of the league. First time this season, long may it continue. No rest for the lads, straight in, weekend, Motherwell away. You know, it's a tough place to go. You know, I was at Fir Park earlier in the season, mate, when was it goals Jota scored, and so the Turnbull as well.
Yeah.
Thunderbolt that day. Always a tough venue, man. How were you feeling going into this game? You know, did the high from the Old Firm game kind of give you the hope that we were going to, you know, carry this form on? Or were you?
Aye, but that disappeared as soon as the fucking whistle went to start the game. To be honest, I know that. How long did it take us to score? Was it 15 minutes or something? Or?
Something like that, aye.
Right. See that 15 minutes, I'm like, we're never scoring here. We're never going to score here. And their goalie was pulling off save after save after save. You know, Celtic won 4-0, and for me, the Motherwell goalie's the man of the match.
Aye, he pulled off a few cracking saves. Just checking, mate, it was 28 minutes it went. So
28 minutes.
Twice as long your ass was doing buttons.
That's it, mate. That's it. Luckily, I was sitting in a boozer, eating my lunch at the time, so I had something to take my mind off it. But I was watching the game in the pub at the same time, and like I said, that this is what it's going to be like for now until the end of the season, Ryan. It's going to be nerve jangling. Every minute of every game is going to be fucking, and it's going to be the same on both sides. Do you know what I mean? And if Rangers play before us on a Saturday or a Sunday, then and they go back to the top of the league, then that puts the pressure on us. And likewise, if we go 4 points ahead of them before they play, you know, the added pressure on the players in this run-in is going to be exceptional. And I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know if my fucking nerves can handle it, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, I'm the exact same. You know, I was sitting for the first time in a while. I've actually sat and watched both games. I say watch both games. I watched the Rangers game until it went 2-0 and then I left because that's what I normally do. But, you know, you've got that kind of... I'm watching that Hearts game with Rangers as well. They go 1-0 up. Hearts come out and I'm thinking, hereby see if they drop points here and we go 4 clear. You know, you always like that buffer, don't you? It's at least 4 points, man. You always like to have that buffer going into games.
So that if you drop one game, then you know it's not. You're still going to be at the top regardless. I know exactly what you're saying, mate. Like I said, I'm getting to the point now where I see everything that he's doing starting to come together. You know, and I want it as much for him as I do for us as Celtic fans. I want it as much for him. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant to watch. Even for the start of the season, like I say, I wasn't expecting anything, but now he's got me expecting. He's got me starting to expect, and I wouldn't have thought that would have been the case at the start of the season, to be honest with you.
No,
so like I said at the start of the season, see, as long as Ange's still the manager at the start of next season, then there's not been any reason to sack him, and I would have considered that as a success. Now, we're halfway through the season, we've already got 1 trophy under our belt, right? We're top of the league, and we've got what you would consider to be a fairly easy game in the Scottish Cup, which should see us through to the next round.
Yeah.
We're still in Europe as well. And somebody says to me the other day, by the way, we're down to 20-1 to win that. And Ange's interview, he said, it was after the Rangers game, I think he says, the way we play football, I believe that we're a match for any team in the world. And I think what he meant, he was kind of having a wee nod towards Europe. That's the way I took it anyway. So, you know, as long as it doesn't interfere with what we're trying to do in the league just now, then there's no reason why, again, a decent run in the conference is it's only going to bear fruit in the long run as well.
It's funny because you look at how this season's went, mate, because obviously we started... Let's take a quick look back. Look at last summer. Ange comes in. People are laughing at us for signing this guy who's not got coaching badges here. You know, I remember the video of Alan Brazil on TalkSport doing the rounds and Ali McCoy's laughing at him, you know, at the time. And I remember thinking, away you go. But
it should be him that's skiing out the fucking coaching badges.
No, I mean, no, like, you've got people making comments like that, you know, like...
Somebody called him Portaloo or something like that as well, didn't they? Was that?
Aye, something like that. People take the piss at his name. We're all kind of sitting there going, you know, that's our new manager, don't slag him. But in the back of our minds, we're all going, they might be right, by the way, because this guy could be an absolute nobody.
If it was the other way around,
of course,
you know what I mean? Like, at the time, I says, I hope they fuck that this isn't our Pedro Caixinha.
Aye.
Because let's be honest, he was, with the exception of Australia and Japan, he was not very well known at all. You know what I mean?
No.
I think he was well respected in coaching circles. You know what I mean? Like Pep Guardiola had a lot of good things to say about him.
Yeah.
Other managers that have faced against him, obviously, you've got like people like Iniesta and all of that commenting on him before he started to raid the J League for players as well. So I think he's just a likeable big guy, and I think there's so many Rangers fans that I know that enjoy listening to him talk as well. You know what I mean? And Grado and Stephen say it as well. They enjoy listening to him talk because he calls a spade, and he doesn't shirk any questions at all. And see if he feels like the media or anybody's getting on their case unduly, then he faces them up, and that's something that we've been missing. You know, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's like I said, I think it should be time that we're looking at a longer contract for him, because I think he's done already within 6 months, which I was expecting him to take 2 to 3 years to do.
Aye.
So
that's the point I was going to make. You know, we came into this season thinking rebuild year, and you said there, I'm expecting nothing. I'm not getting my hopes up for anything. You've been on record saying that every single week for the first 6 months of the season, and then even now, somebody like you who was so like you didn't want to put that out there. You didn't want to be so forward and thinking that we can do this, but now something's changed, and it has changed. It's changed maybe mostly over the last 2 months. I think since kind of mid-December. I think since we got confirmation that we're in the Conference League, we had European football of some sort after Christmas. Then we played a few games quite decent leading up to Christmas. Then we got that break, and then we came back all guns blazing. I think people at that point of them went, right, hold on a minute.
See, I know what you're saying, but I actually think it was before that, because I can never remember the Celtic fans as buzzing for the football coming back as it was after that wee break there. I mean, who was it we played first again? Who was it we played? Was it Hibs? No.
Hibs. It was midweek game, wasn't it? It was a Monday night.
I think, and I was fucking, my arse was making buttons. I could not wait for the game. I really could. It was because Maeda scored in the first couple of minutes, mine.
It was a Monday night game, first with fans back, wasn't it?
Aye, and do you know what? It was brilliant, but it's I would really look forward to every game now. Whereas last season, although I was watching them, I wasn't looking forward to it, and actually sitting and watching it was a chore as well. So it's even just I feel as if I've got Celtic back, Ryan, and it's fucking like you say, man. Long may it continue.
Aye, it's class. Right, let's go back to the Motherwell game then at the weekend. Obviously, you said the score there, 4-0 victory in the end. We discussed a few of the goals that happened then and the performances round about that. First goal, I'm going to pinpoint somebody in the build-up for this who's probably not getting as much credit for it as he deserves, is Greg Taylor. You know, we have been critical of Greg Taylor so many times.
Oh, aye.
You know what I've said about Greg Taylor in the past on this podcast?
I actually said it getting into the Rangers game. I said that he was a major weak link, but he was brilliant, man. He was brilliant. He never put a foot wrong.
I happened to see the guy who's done the Celtic by numbers Twitter account. Have you seen that at all? Let me see if I can find it very quickly while we're on here, because he done an assessment of two boys. Where is it here? Give me a second, mate. This is great for anybody listening. So, right, okay, this boy's put on it. He does kind of analysis for the games, right? And he said some props for the derby for a couple of players that the data had not been too kind to, and whom I wondered have a long-term kind of an Ange Postecoglou side. Firstly, Taylor. In this game, his defensive performance was remarkable. He won 12 challenges, stroke interceptions, and lost 0. Last season, his average were 5.1 and 5.4. He won 3 more challenges than the next to Starfelt, and he won back possession 10 times, which is 4 more times than the next guy as well. Like in that Old Firm game, mate, he was an absolute baller. going by stats. Going by stats.
And it's like you said there, it's this is all part of the effect that Ange's having on the players, do you know? Yep. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Greg Taylor is by any way who Ange wants there if he had the choice.
Mm-hmm.
But the same way Alston earlier on in the season, man, see, as long as he's not doing anything wrong, then but I do have to say, the couple of games before the Rangers game, I thought he was terrible. I really do think he was terrible, but you've got to raise your hands and you know, when you give out stick, you've got to give out credit when it's due. And I thought he was brilliant against Rangers. I really did. I thought he was excellent.
So he plays a good wee ball across a few defenders in the Motherwell game, drops a Hatate, takes a look up, ball across the front of the box, and there he is again, mate. I feel like Leo Abada scores the same goal every single week, and teams can't cope with it because it's identical to the Rangers one. I'm pretty sure it's identical to one he scored earlier in the season as well against maybe Aberdeen. He scored, you know, he seems to have, as soon as the ball's on that left-hand side, he's in the box. He's making
even getting back to the game against Jablonets, that was the kind of goal he scored against them as well. He goes in at that back post. Now, see, because he's done it against Rangers, there's going to be a light shone on that now.
Aye.
So you're going to either have 2 men on him or the left back's going to be creating space for players like O'Reilly and Rogic to fill. So it's again, it's a double-edged sword. So I have to again, and I think you as well, Ryan. You did always say look at the numbers, but I felt that Abada's performances had been pretty lacklustre.
Yeah.
Right up until the break, and see if he's come back for the break. Like when we went to the Alloa game, I thought he was excellent in the Alloa game. The goal he scored was brilliant, but week after week now, he's building, and I think he was a bit of a victim of his age at the start. He just hadn't had that much experience, and I wanted him to be the player that I had seen on the videos, but it takes time.
You see about being a victim, though. I think he was a victim of having been a young boy who had a very good start. When he came in, he came in all guns blazing at the start of the season. Then he fell away, and then he got that kind of criticism about the age, and he's no get experience enough to kind of maintain this over a full season, etc. Because his performance has dipped a little bit. The boy's been, was it 20 goals he scored so far?
No, he's 13.
13. Sorry, 20. It's 20.
20 goal involvements.
Goal involvements he's got so far. To have that at this point in the season for a winger who's 20-year-old who's just come in, or maybe 21 now, who's just come in this season.
He's only 20. He was 19 when he signed.
Is that what it was? Right. So I knew he had a birthday at some point. To have that at this point in the season, mate, it's unreal. Again, somebody who's only going to get better and who is only getting better. He's now proven that he can actually score the goals as well. He's playing up front in some games and grabbing goals for us. Look at St Mirren when he played there and had a storm in a game. So that long may it continue for him as well, mate. Nextly, boy, I want to bring up
Giakoumakis.
No. The scorer of the next goal, Thomas Rogic, mate. Tommy to
Shin roller, mate.
Mate, absolute screamer of a goal he scores. And I just want to remind you something, mate. This time last year, Neil Lennon tried to sell Tom Rogic to a team in Qatar for £3.5 million.
I don't know if it was Neil Lennon specifically. Do you know what I mean? But
to be fair, the report was, the reason I say Neil Lennon is because he went to them and said, "No, I don't need him anymore. He's not part of my plans. Get rid of him," and that's why they accepted that bid. That, looking at him now, mate, under Ange, that's criminal for the performance that he's been putting in.
Absolutely, especially when you look at who was playing ahead of him. You know what I mean? So, definitely. But I've been critical of Rogic in the past, but it's always been more about his fitness. But that's improved tenfold now as well. And I think it's more to do with the fact that Ange knows how to play him. You know what I mean? Like Rogic is like, he's playing more as a box-to-box midfielder, but his availability and his eye for a goal is improved so much over the past 2 months, even. And that goal against Motherwell, his first goal against Motherwell was outstanding. The second one was brilliant as well, but the first one was a great finish. The keeper couldn't even, and we were talking earlier on about how much of a game the goalie was having, and it would have had to have been a special one to beat him at that point, because he was saving everything.
You see about his second goal as well. That's great link-up play by him and Abada.
By the way, that's the only point in the goals that he could have put that into where it would have been a goal, because there was a defender on either side of the goalie, and there was a guy sliding in and he had the goalie to beat as well. Do you know what I mean? So there's 5 players there, or 4 or 5 players there, and he puts it right into the top bin. And I was screaming for him to get the hat trick later on, but it just wasn't happening. You've got to go across the goalie there, and he's went for the near post. I don't know why.
Did you see a stat they said on Sky Sports? You might not have heard it. That's the first time Tom Rogic has scored 2 goals for us in a league game ever.
Really?
First time he's ever scored 2 goals in a league game. He scored them in other games, obviously, but in the league, it's his first time he scored 2 goals in one game, which I thought was mad. Considering he's been here for what, 9 years?
Aye, it's your testimonial.
Near enough, mate. Right, lastly then, before we move on from this game, I text one of my pals, and I want to get your opinion on this. Maeda starts in this game down the left-hand side. What did you make his performance before he went up front?
I've said this during the game actually. Like he was non-existent. He was completely non-existent. I thought when he came on against Rangers, he was non-existent, but that was more down to the fact that they had a wee bit more of a handle on the game at that point in time.
Yeah.
And really, if we're being honest, his game against Hibs as well, after he scored the goal, he kind of disappeared as well. So I don't want to be too critical of him because again, you need to give the guy time to bed in. But when he did go through the middle against Motherwell, he looked so much more of a threat than he had. I don't think he's the creative player on the left-hand side. I mean, you seen the difference when Jota come on. You know?
What I text my pal, tongue in cheek, I went, I think Maeda might be shite. But I was kidding on when I said it because I don't think he is shite. And he did say, he's like, you need to give wingers more time because they're not always involved in the game, which is fair. Goes up front, mate. There he is, focal point, making the runs, charging down the middle, ball through for O'Reilly, cuts back inside, means every single bit of it, chips it at the goalie with the biggest chip you've ever seen in your life.
That was unbelievable. That's the best love I've seen since Larson on Kloss.
Oh, aye. I don't know how he's done it, man. Like the skill to twist your body.
Pitching wedge attached to his fucking foot puppet. You know what I mean? But no, I know what you're saying. And do you know when you're going to really see the best of Maeda in Europe? See when we've got teams that are only sitting in against us and there's that space at the back. And do you know it's going to be O'Reilly, Hatate and Maeda. See they two playing these balls in behind the defence and him running because he's like fucking lightning, the guy. He's rapid. You know what I mean? So like I think you'll get the best out of him then.
Did we see him more as a through the middle striker then than a winger? Are we kind of agreed on that?
Absolutely. But you need to also remember that Kyogo's going to be back at some point. So you know, one of them's going to have to miss out. And
well, potentially two of them. If the last guy that I want to mention in this game, Big Giakoumakis, keeps up what he's doing. What did you make of him, mate? I was arguing with my pals. I feel like I quite like him. I quite like what Giakoumakis gives us up front. It's different to Kyogo and probably Maeda as well. It's a bit of a what was the tweet? What was the tweet I seen? It was Giakoumakis has been bred in a lab solely for Livingston away. Is a tweet.
Exactly, mate. And do you know what else as well? See, if we ever need to go two up front, he's a perfect foil for Maeda or Kyogo.
Aye.
You know what I mean? So that's exactly the sort of player is that Livingston away type of player. But I will say again, I think I've mentioned it previously before. I feel as if you cannot give him any time on the ball.
Aye,
you can't.
I agree.
It needs to be an instinctual finish for him. You know, like fire a ball in across the 6-yard box, like the goal against Hearts, a wee back heel.
Yeah.
See if that comes to him at the penalty spot and he's got time to take a touch. I'm not confident that he's putting it in the back of the net. Well, and I thought he was excellent against Rangers. I really did think he was excellent.
A prime example actually in the Motherwell game, mate, of that, because he showed his strength. There was one point where the camera kind of zoomed in on it, and he had about 3 Motherwell players around him, and he bullied every single one of them, and then went to run away with the ball and tripped at it and lost it.
That's right.
After bullying 3 boys off it, and you're just like, get rid of the ball, mate. Just get rid of it.
Exactly.
He's not got that skill. But like I say, mate, I quite like him. I
don't dislike him, mate. I think that there's something there. He definitely offers something, and his hold-up play in the last few games has been excellent as well. So, you know, I don't think by any means he's ever going to be first-choice striker. But if we ever do need 2 up front, I would have him along with another.
Yeah.
Because he kind of reminds me a bit of Chris Sutton. Not maybe as technically proficient as Chris Sutton, but the way he plays the game, if you know what I mean, you know, like the positions he gets himself into when he's holding the ball up, he's holding the men off and all that, and he does remind me of Sutton in that way. But see, the sooner that he can get his eye in for a final pass, or you know, make sure that he's more in the centre of the box, because Jota and Jota and Abada or Forrest, who is flat to deceive in his last few appearances, I've got to say, will lay chances on a plate for him. You know, so I think he's a perfect target man, and he's a perfect guy to play in the big guy, wee guy kind of striker partnership.
It's Nakamura. It's another.
So, mate, we've got 2 more games coming up this week that we need to discuss. One more than the other. You know, we'll get on to them. But the first one up is tomorrow night, Wednesday, Aberdeen away.
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling about this, mate? It's always a dodgy place to go for us, particularly a midweek game. What you thinking?
I really don't know, Ryan, to be honest with you. Again, look at Aberdeen, look where they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look where they are in the league, look at the results that they've had. But, you know, when it comes up against Celtic or Rangers, that these players raise their game. You know, and Scott Brown's not going to let them lie down to us. Do you know what I mean? He's going to have them right up for it, even though he should.
Better.
Even though he should. Aye, but
he's obviously not got a bloody memo then.
This is it, exactly. Fucking hell, man. Once we got out of sight, out of mind there. No, but it's really, it all depends on what Aberdeen turn up, because if Aberdeen turn up and try to have a go at us, Celtic could take a fucking barrel load after them. But if they come there and they sit in and they try and hit us on the attack, on the counter attack, which a few teams have done successfully over the course of the season so far, then it really all depends on Carter Vickers and Starfelt, I think, because Juranovic we need to have him in this match, because over the past couple of weeks he's been brilliant, and there's actually transfer talk about him already.
I will just go on to that one in the news later on, because I've got thoughts on that one.
So if I get fucking thoughts on that one and all. But Greg Taylor always seems to do no bad up against Aberdeen, so I've not got any worries about him. But Starfelt needs to keep his head in the game, because even though he played really well against Rangers, there was one bit where there was just one instance, and he tends to have that one. Aye, and thank fuck we were 3-0 up at the time, and it never came to anything. Do you know what I mean? But you know, see if you have a mistake like that in a game against Rangers and it costs you a goal, and the fans are on your back for for a long time. So he needs to keep his head in the game, make sure that he's concentrating, because as critical as we've both been him at times, I see flashes of a right good player, and it's it's murder, because you're just waiting for that one brain fart kind of thing that he has.
Aye, me and the boys have been arguing about this, because the last couple of games, one of my mates was like, "Oh, Starfelt's shite," and I'm like, "Mate, have you been watching Starfelt for the last month? Or are you just going on like, you know, what you think's cool to say?" Because Starfelt's not been shite. Starfelt's been a really good defender since Carter Vickers came in alongside him.
Mm-hmm.
Since we get the two of them together, I mean, Carter Vickers for me, we spend the money on that guy in the summer. We buy both him and Jota.
He's starting to convince me, I have to say. He is starting to convince me.
Mate, the guy doesn't lose a header. He does not lose a header. Everything
he's built like a packet of fags.
Mate, he's a stocky bastard.
That's what I mean. He's built like a packet of fags. He's like that, man. He's like a mad rectangle, but he's powerful. And I've said this to you before as well, he's got a great eye for a forward pass, like a quarterback forward pass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he's got a few strings to his bow. I just hope that he's enjoying it here. You know what I mean? I can see that Jota's enjoying it. But Carter Vickers seems like a very quiet kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like a kind of very contemplative kind of guy. And whenever I heard him interviewed on Celtic TV, and he comes across really well as well. So, you know, I hope he's enjoying himself, because if he is, then depending on the outlay, it's a no-brainer, because we've seen what he can do. We're halfway through the season, and he's for me, he's probably been in the top 5 performers of the season for us, I would say. And by the way, see if you had to sit and put players into an order for how well they've been playing this season, that's an achievement in itself, man.
I actually couldn't do it this year. I couldn't rank the players this year. Kyogo, Jota, and apart from that, everybody else is a free for all. In all honesty, 'cause I think everybody in their position has been brilliant. You know, Juranovic, like you mentioned earlier on, in the last few games, has been phenomenal. You know, Carter Vickers, solid. Greg Taylor, solid. Callum McGregor, brilliant. Hatate, brilliant. O'Reilly, brilliant.
Yep.
The players that we've got just now, like just touching on the potential team selection for this one, I think it speaks for itself. You know, I think we both agree you're going to go Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Hatate, Jota Abada. Who are you going with up top, mate? Are you going to go Maeda for this one, or are you going to put the big man up, Giakoumakis?
Aberdeen away. I think you can get either a half each. If it's not working, then you can change it. You know what I mean? But if it was me, I like Aberdeen don't tend to sit in against us, and I don't think Stephen Glass would allow Aberdeen to sit in against us. So I would say you go with Maeda for this one, because there's going to be a bit of space in at the back, I think. Then, you know, like I said, if it's not working, you can maybe bring Giakoumakis on, or you can go two up front and keep Maeda and Giakoumakis and maybe take off a midfielder or whatever. But aye, it's all really down to Big Ange's going to make the decisions, and I trust whatever the fuck he does anyway.
True. I also noticed as well, I was talking about the midfield theory, and I said Hatate, O'Reilly and McGregor.
And you've got Rogic.
I missed out Tam, aye.
Aye, you've got Rogic as well. And you've got Beaton, who, by the way, red card aside, has been brilliant recently. He's been absolutely brilliant recently.
Aye, big fan of Beaton. Right, the second game then, mate. Oh, before we do that, score prediction. What you reckon then?
2-0 to Celtic.
Cool. I'm going to go 3-0. I reckon we'll skip them. Nice. Clear, mate. Right. Next game then, next Sunday, cup game at home. Should be fairly straightforward against Wraith Rovers. How are we feeling about that one?
I think we've got that much momentum now. I don't think we should be changing the team. You know, I think we should be going all guns blazing. I realise that fitness might be an issue. I've said that before, maybe, but on the past couple of games we really haven't fell away in the second half, which is pointing in the right direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would keep the team as it is just now. Maybe if you're a few goals up, then I believe Caramel Dembele's back training.
Yep.
It's time to maybe introduce some of the younger players, like the young boy that we signed for Shamrock Rovers. Was it Shamrock Rovers that we signed him for?
Oh, aye. Is it Kelly? Something Kelly?
Aye.
Striker.
Young boy, you know, it's time to introduce players like that into the game. We've had Ben Doak, who's come on in a couple of games recently. So, you know, if you're a few goals up, that's when you can bleed these young players and give them a bit of experience in front of a large crowd at Celtic Park, you know. So
I think it's mad that Ben Doak came on for about 50 minutes against Rangers and then had to go up early in the morning for school the next day.
Imagine going into school the next day.
Seriously, just beat Rangers.
I know.
I'd be getting Stephen. I don't care. 16, I'd be getting Rick.
That's the reason why you're not a professional footballer, mate, I suppose.
Correct, mate. Correct. Right over score prediction. What are you thinking? Is it a hammer?
I hope so, but again, all depends if they sit in their own box for 90 minutes, because we do tend to have a wee bit of issues with breaking teams down like that. But the fact that we've got a midfielder that's get a bit of talent for outside the box shooting, you know what I mean? That changes things, because it's no longer Celtic trying to walk the ball into the net. We've got a threat for outside the box as well. So, you know, I would expect us to, if I was going to put a coupon on, I would put on Celtic -3.
Well, actually, that's no far off. I'd say, because I was going to say 4-0. So,
well, that's 4-0.
So,
Celtic -3.
Ideal.
John Hodgson lines up the shot!
So, mate, just a couple of bits of news this week then. Celtic have confirmed their squad for the Conference League. No real surprises. Keogh goes back in. Julian's going to be in as well. Couple of boys out like Shaw and Uragiri who've left anyway. The one surprise, which is maybe not a surprise, is Iraguchi's been left out. We're thinking that's maybe injury related, then he's been left out completely, or is it maybe that he's just probably doing the pecking order of midfielders that we've got in that squad?
I think that's probably the case, mate. And what you need to remember as well is you can only replace a certain amount of players. You know, so he might have made it, but he obviously doesn't seem like a huge loss at this point in time. You know what I mean? So he's definitely not hit the ground running the way that Maeda and Hatate have. And he's obviously had that bad challenge on him at Alloa as well. So maybe a few behind closed doors games for him, get him up to speed, and then he could be an important player in the run-in at the end of the season. But
he can always be used in the league as well, can't he? That's the thing, it's important to remember that it can be used for squad rotation in the league. So it could just be that we're kind of putting in the better players for the Conference League. No real surprise at that one. Last bit of news this week, mate, and this is probably where people need to stick with us, because the anchor is here with this one. I'll just read this here. As per Fabrizio Romano, the man that we don't like to hear things from because they usually come through, Leicester City are exploring the possibility of taking Josip Juranovic to the Premier League, with Brendan Rodgers recently making the trip to Glasgow, casting his eyes over him. Leicester are one of several clubs across Europe interested. He also mentions a fee of around 8.5 to 12.5 million would be enough for Celtic to part ways with the Croatian international.
No chance.
This is on Fabrizio's podcast for anybody that wants to hear it. We spoke there about Juranovic, about the performances he put in this season. The performance against Rangers, most notably, was phenomenal. Probably one of the best performances I've seen from anybody in an Old Firm game in a long time, like individual performance. To suggest that they would get him for between 8.5 and 12.5 million, mate, it's a bit of a laughing stock, isn't it?
It's ludicrous, but when you take into account the fact that it would be a 10 million profit if we sold him for 12.5 million after 1 year, it would make business sense. But I don't think that I would not be accepting anything near 12.5 million.
Bear in mind as well, mate, he's got 4 years left on his deal. It's a 5-year deal that he signed.
Plus, he also seems as if he gets it, which is
something. He hates M&O, doesn't he? He hates M&O.
But he's like he's the sort of player that I think is one of the ones that, you know, he's enjoying his football here. He's maybe got plans and dreams of playing at a higher level as most footballers will have, but I think he's enjoying it at Celtic. You know what I mean? So, and who would have thought, like, especially earlier on in the season, Anthony Ralston was brilliant, right? And I couldn't see any way where Juranovic was getting into the team. So to see what he's turned into for us again within that short period of time it blows my mind, man. And I'm sorry, Brendan, but you can go and take a run and fuck to yourself, mate, if you think you're getting him for that kind of money.
Quite right, mate. Quite right. And
I would rather sell him to another team for less money
than go to Leicester with that guy.
Aye.
Don't disagree with you, mate. Anybody listening, if you agree, put your hand up just now. Thought so. Loads of folk there. Also, mate, lastly, Juranovic, he can go wherever he wants, but he's not going to make it on Pitbull's Instagram, is he?
Nah, man. Nah.
What? Mate, that wasn't real life the other day. That was not real life.
What do you call that, guys? At Mr. Worldwide?
Aye, mate.
I mean, Celtic Worldwide, mate. That's all you need to know, as usual. Pitbull CSC.
On for McStay. It's a second for Celtic.
So that's it for this week's episode of Celtic Daft. Thank you very much for tuning in. Chris, you were back on the main show this week with the boys. Grado making it back this week.
I hope so. if he's 2 doors down, things all done and dusted, then aye. But me and Stephen will be there regardless, and John as well, who, by the way, tonight claims he's a Falkirk fan. Tonight he's sitting watching the Brit Awards rather than Falkirk. Shall we find out what the Falkirk score was, Ryan? Hold on.
As we are speaking right now, let's check your Falkirk score, because that might kind of make a mind up for us, actually. What day is it today, mate? It's a Tuesday.
Yes. Falkirk won 3-0.
And he's missed it.
Aye, and guess what? It was away to Alloa. They actually got a better result against Alloa than we did.
Man, did they get a parking ticket the same way we did, mate?
And he's saying to me, I can't get through to the game. He's got a car at his front door, and he lives about 10 minutes away from Alloa. He's a fucking chancer.
So he does, mate. How long did we travel for?
Exactly. I think it was 5.5 hours. I think it was, right.
Fucking about
5.5 hours
for me, mate.
I know.
That's because I had to come pick you up for your mansion somewhere, or not?
That's it. Mansion in the sky.
Right. So you'll be back on the main show this week, mate. Remember, if you're listening on Apple, please rate and subscribe. On Spotify, please subscribe to us on there as well. Make sure you get our podcasts. Chris will be back on Thursday. Chris Toal, as always, mate.
God bless you.